I guess my question for you is, with all this talk about the World Economic Forum, everything they're talking about doing, they want to ban free speech. Based on everything you've read, where do you think the next steps are? Where are they going to try and bring us?
So a lot of these books do talk about 10, 20, 30-year actuary plans. So the next 10 years is to get in things like the CBDC. It's to get in things like universal basic income if people accept it. We had, Klaus, and then we're running Cyber Polygon. And they were just recently talking about large-scale internet cyber outages. I mean, when they run a lot of these drills, not always, but a lot of times the drills, kind of presage what's going to come. So I would say in the next 10 years, we could expect that kind of stuff.
They're talking about like a cyber 9/11.
Yeah.
Some great catastrophe. What is that going to look like? You think freezing out bank accounts? We saw with the airlines. Yeah. They're saying some guy deleted some files on accident, but then we saw the Bank of America thing where people's money started disappearing. They said, oh, it was a glitch. If we actually got some cyber shutdown, I remember there was this big thing in the hacker community people were telling me about. I'm not an expert. Many of you listening maybe know. It's called DNS cache poisoning. You guys might know about that. Apparently there was this big thing that happened where domain name servers, the directory for the internet had some kind of exploit, and a small group convened all the great powers of the internet and said, hey guys, if anyone finds out about this, if this gets out, internet gets shut down. And so they secretly worked behind the scenes, fixed the problem, and then came out and said, you guys had no idea how close you were to the entirety of the internet going down. If something like that were to happen, our economy would be overnight. Yeah. I mean, you go to these small cafes and everything's digital. You go to Starbucks, it's like, who uses cash? But if the internet goes down, you're not doing transactions with a credit card. Credit card will be a piece of plastic, nothing. Yeah. No way to transact any of this stuff. I mean, I think that's a possibility for what they may be talking about.
That's the problem. What's going to be the reaction? What's going to be the solution? I think that's the important thing to really kind of look at here. We were talking about what's happening with Bank of America, the FAA, the Canadian FAA. A lot of people are kind of speculating that there's a big possibility that these are ransom attacks. It's also important to note here that a lot of these ransom attacks are directly because, and I believe Edward Snowden said this a couple of years ago, was that the CIA and the NSA built specific toolkits. They built specific online weapons that could hack a lot of online websites, a lot of important key pieces of infrastructure. Those toolkits were just allegedly stolen, and now any hacker could get access to them. Was this done deliberately? Was this something done that was just a part of a larger plan here? Was this an accident? Was this done on purpose? I think those are questions that people should be asking themselves, since these larger ransom attacks that were in the news a couple months ago, especially affecting American oil supply in the southeast of the United States. We paid for these tools kits that are being used right now for these ransom attacks. People need to understand that what's happening here was directly a responsibility of some of the biggest agencies in Washington, D.C.
When were these toolkits taken?
I gotta look it up just to give you a concise answer about this, but I believe Edward Snowden did a big expose on all of this.
You could definitely call it a form of theft, but it's more, keep in mind that they copied those tool sets, so now there's multiple copies of them floating around.
It's all out there.
Future sounds fun and exciting.
I don't even know.
I recommend getting out of cities, buying chickens, maybe some goats.
Like some people say, there won't even be humans in 100 years. Like I'll be AI at that point. I don't know if that's.
I did a segment talking about how we will not be able. Like if population collapses, all of the luxuries will be gone. Like let me ask you a question: How does that TV up there work? Do you know? Can anybody give me a fundamental explanation?
Man, I can look at a computer processing board, but I have no idea what copper gets soldered where and gets twisted onto the...
Here's what I know. The TV, that's an LED light-emitting diode. They're lined up. They emit colors. I got no idea how you create a graphical user interface. If the population collapsed, so would we. There are people who probably know how to make a screen, who know how to make glass, who know how to make a circuit board, that don't know how to make a TV because it's all of the different companies coming together.
That's the problem with these replaceable parts factories in general, is that people don't know the entire process anymore. The artisanal labor of workshops is gone now.
That's a function of reality. No one person can know how to make a toaster. Now, here's what I did say, and these leftists tried mocking me for it. We do have layman understanding of certain things, which will benefit us in rebuilding if population collapsed. Like I don't know how to smelt or anything like that, or mine ore, or make iron. I couldn't make you a cast iron skillet, but I do know general things. I was shown by a geologist iron-rich ore deposits, iron-rich mud, and where iron comes from. And I have a basic understanding of melting things down because we got a crucible and a kiln and all that stuff, and we've melted down metals before. But if I were to try it, I'll put it this way. If the society collapsed, me here and all this luxury, all this stuff, it would take me years to figure out how to make a piece of metal. Years. Now, that's better off than a tribal, caveman or whatever. Took them generations. So there is that benefit, but people don't understand how much you will lose if the grid goes down.
Yeah. To answer your question, Ian, it was March of 2017. Newsweek actually had an article about this that was titled "Edward Snowden Slams NSA Over Ransom Attacks," and essentially lays out the argument how the NSA could have prevented a lot of this, but they acted in a way that allowed these kind of attacks to happen and to continue to happen when they could have prevented them and stopped them, but they didn't. So was it an accident or did they do it on purpose? For me, I don't know. We don't have the evidence, but I think they did it on purpose.
I'm now of the belief that there is no monolith within these industries, within the NSA, CIA, American government. Like there may be one guy in that department that has a connection to a spy in China that's making calls that seem normal or slightly, and then you're like, the entire thing's compromised at that point. I don't know how to stop that ever. It's like globalization is inevitable. The more we are in touch, the more connected we become, whether we want to or not.
By the way, there's a Ayn Rand dystopian story that's like what you're talking about, where it's like, I don't know, 100,000 years in the future, and everybody's forgotten all the skills.
Yeah.
And then somebody like finds in a cave stash somewhere like plans like how to make something really basic.
Star Trek, Next Generation, they go to a planet where no one knows how anything works. There's an AI that just controls everything, and they're like, trust the AI. AI will keep us safe and just does everything for us. And the adults are basically children. They couldn't tell you. It's magic.
Logan's Run. Have you seen that?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Classic.
They keep them young and dumb. Everybody's kids. And then when you hit age 30, you like float up into this oven and get cooked. Because you can't live beyond 30, right? So
yeah, they have lights in their hands. And as you get closer to 30, it starts turning red. And then when you're 30, it flashes. And then Logan's like, I don't want to die. And then he runs away.
That's awesome.
That's where we're headed, something like that. Although if you're an elite, you'll live forever.
Right.
If you're a pleb, it's like the time machine.
Like the H.G. Wells.
Yeah, human civilization splits into humans split into two different species: the smart and the stupid, or whatever.
So,
Eloy and Morlocks. Yeah,
that's right.
I think we'll inevitably. Firstly, I think that we are going to evolve the ability to see different frequencies, so that we'll be able to delineate what's natural and what's artificial. When we look at like robots that are artificial intelligence that look like humans, we'll be able to actually see because when I take psilocybin, for instance, the artificial stuff is obviously artificial. The life forms stand extremely out. So I think we'll redevelop that ability to witness what's natural.
I don't agree. I think they're going to trick you. I think they're going to find ways to control your brain.
And I'm wondering if it's going to be after 100 years of enslaved that people start to evolve this ability to see. They're going to put a chip in your brain that's going to stop you from seeing what they don't want you to see.
Mm-hmm. But you said you were vibing with some cockroaches. So maybe are you already seeing the frequencies of the cockroaches?
Psychic energy. I've seen infrared light. When I woke up out of a dream one day, it was going into my phone.
Squeeching,
it was like light was like I could see it was just all bright red, and then it like twisted and it looked like it went into the phone. But that's just because my perception was closing around it, and I was losing. So we have the ability to see what we maybe think we can't.
Well, there are women who can see, I think, what UV, or is it infrared? Which one? They see UV, I think, right?
I don't know if it's UV. I don't remember which one it is, but it's one of those. They just able to see more colors because they have more cones.
Tetrachromats?
Yeah, they have more cones in their eyes. They can see more colors.
And it's only women.
Yeah.
And I guess they say if you look up when a cloud is passing over the sun, look up, and if you see like purple around the edges, you're a tetrachromat.
Yeah, I've seen that before. Colors. Sometimes my eyes will go in and out of that.
Bro, you can't.
Oh yeah, you can. You can see purple around the white light if you let yourself.
Ian,
I'm not lying about it.
Okay,
I've done it many times in my life.
Perhaps fine. what we understand about the science is that men can't be tetrachromats.
You can see all the colors of the rainbow in white light if you let yourself.
Right, and tetrachromats mean they can see colors you've never seen before.
Yeah, because it's an evolutionary thing. Like women were ones who were hunters and gatherers, hunters and gatherers. They were gatherers. They were looking for fruit. They were looking for things that were safe to eat. They had to be able to determine which was like just the right shade of green, what was the wrong shade of green, because there's so many plants that look so similar. So over time, women evolved the ability to see things in a particular color. Men didn't evolve that because they were hunters. They didn't need that skill.
Interesting. So I wonder, maybe that'll be something to do with telling if something's alive or if it's a robot. You'll be able to see a color emanating off of it. The other thing I think we're going to evolve is the ability to use our psychic abilities to communicate with our thoughts again. Like, you know, when you call your friend on the phone and they're calling, it's busy because they're calling you at the same moment. I don't know if you guys ever had that weird thing happen. It's happened to me many, many times, like more than 7 times in my life.
Maybe Ian's a woman. You know, maybe they say that genetic mutation can only occur in women. It's because the gene for our red and green cone is on the X chromosome, and women have 2. Men only have 1. And if a man has a genetic mutation on the X chromosome and he only has 1, it would result in him being colorblind rather than tetrachromatic. Whoa.
Wow. No, I didn't know that was
crazy.
That part.
Like I could see that if we build up our psychic abilities better.
12% of women.
Psychics.
12%. That's crazy.
Psychic's kind of a loaded term. It sounds woo-woo, but if we figure out how to communicate without having to rely on our voices or writing, like we'll be able to bypass technocratic takeover. If you can protect your thoughts and choose when to have thoughts and when not to, the machine's not going to be able to read your mind because you have control of when.
Yo, this is crazy. Look at this. These 2 pictures. One is like a painting rendition from a tetrachromat, and one is like a regular picture.
So you're saying that's what a woman sees on the left?
That's what a tetrachromat sees.
The small percentage of women, I guess.
12%.
Wow.
Okay, that's not at all what I see on the left. That's not what I'm talking about.
Ian might be confusing it with an acid trip, to be fair.
What happened? I was looking into white light, and then I would start to see the rainbow colors.
I was staring at the sun.
It would like turn into yellow, then orange, then red, then purple, then black, then white, then blue, then green, then yellow, then orange, then red, then purple, then black, then white, and it would like out of the black would come white again, and it would keep cycling. I'd keep seeing all these. Just consider it. I don't know. I'm weird. I mean, there was a lot of weed involved, I'm sure. But hey, that's part of our what we are as well. We have cannabinoids in our brain. Our species fed off that stuff for the entire existence of it, as far as we know, for way back. And now they've tried to cut us off of it.
Yeah, true.
Like the last 100 years.
Are you talking about Terence McKenna?
I will.
He talks about the stoned ape theory.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think for sure our intelligence has evolved along with our diet, which happens to be what we call today psychoactives, or what all these. Caffeine, for instance, is a psychoactive. You know,
if I'm going to believe any kind of crazy theory without evidence, it's going to be that aliens came and genetically engineered humans between pigs and monkeys to make a slave race, because that just sounds more fun and would make a good book.
Yeah.
You guys ever hear that? It's like a conspiracy. I don't know if conspiracy theory is the right word, because it's not like.
It's more like just a theory.
Conspiracy theory implies like humans did a thing together, but this is more just like a weird sci-fi idea. They believe that aliens came to Earth and needed slaves to mine gold, so they took primates and pigs and hybridized them, and then added alien DNA to make them a little bit smarter, and that's what humans are. And I'm just like, yeah, that's a lot to believe, dude. That's a big leap from a gorilla ate a mushroom.
What do you think about the conspiracy against marijuana from like the 20s? Harry J. Anslinger, are you familiar with that?
I mean, a little bit. The PR campaign they did to make people, marijuana is bad.
Yeah, can you explain it, Jay?
Well, I know from like Dope Inc. and books like that the British Empire used drugs as a weapon, obviously, against China, and the drug lanes that were formerly controlled by like French and British intelligence, that was just taken over by the West, the elites in the West, in our country, right, to run the drug lanes. So I think that it's really complex, but I think that in regard to hemp, if you're like, I'm from Tennessee, Kentucky area, so the history of Kentucky was that was like a perfect place to grow hemp, and it was useful for all these different things, and it was intentionally suppressed because certain chemical companies wanted to have monopolies over things that hemp would put them out of business for. So I don't think it really had anything to do with the drug effects. I think it had to do with like the markets and these big corporations.
William Randolph Hearst was a newspaper magnate. He had owned tree farms, and he wanted them to stop using paper. This is what I've heard. He wanted them to stop using hemp as paper and start using papyrus or whatever his tree stuff.
Oh, check this out. So this is a tetrachromacy test. You've done these tests before, I'd imagine, where they're like, what number is in the circle? And then you got to read the number. But if you're colorblind, you can only see like one shade. It's the same thing, but for tetrachromats. So I just see red, green, and orange.
That's all I see.
I don't see anything. But if you're a tetrachromat, you actually will see the other colors. Now, I don't know if the monitor screen can emit those proper colors, to be honest, but apparently that's the point they're trying to make.
So chicks is like birds, what you're saying.
They got exactly bird eyes. Like birds.
They can see like a bird.
That's right. They eat like birds too. They tend to just swallow things whole, you know.
Birds are real?
Yeah.
Birds are fake.
They're dinosaurs.
Birds are a government surveillance
isn't real. Birds are fake.
Yeah, and so it says, how could it be valid? Computer screens only use red-green pixels. They can't display the hues a tetrachromat would be able to see.
Right. Pigment and light are different.
Yeah, so it's a fake test.
Well,
it's not real.
pigment is a reflection of light.
Computer screens don't have enough color information to actually do the real test.
So we're all right then.
What I would see is like an aura around it that would come out. I would see like a purple and then blue or whatever, depending on the oxygenation levels. If you're deoxygenated, it's like more yellow, and the more oxygen you have, the bluer it gets, it seems to.
It's called an acid flashback.
I don't think so. I never broke my brain with drugs. Like I never went crazy. I was always slow to start, and I've never done more than like an eighth of mushrooms at a time. But some people like I did multiple acid hits. That's not my style. That's crazy. I don't know. Unless you want to do it.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.